Unit 2. Developing vocabulary and listening. Exercises 4 and 5.
We continue our series of interviews with people about their jobs. On today's programme, we'll be talking to Teresa Lyons. Teresa, you have what's often been described as one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. What is it that you do?
Well, I'm not a mountain climber or an astronaut or a firefighter, if that's what you're thinking. But I do put my life on the line every day when I get into my car to do my job, teaching people to drive.
There can't be too many people who want to risk getting into a car with someone who's never driven before.
I love it in spite of the risks. But sometimes I think it would be easier to be an astronaut or a firefighter.
How long have you been doing your job?
Believe it or not, I started in the business just over 30 years ago. In fact, it's coming up for 32 years now. I was just 23 when I started.
It can't have been easy being a female instructor then. What were people's reactions?
To be honest, I never had any problems. I suppose if I'd started in the 50s, it would have been a different story. But when I started, it was a little unusual, but nothing extraordinary. I had a few people who were surprised at first because my nickname's Terry, so they were expecting a man. After that, I put my full name on my business page. A lot of women prefer a female teacher, so I was never short of clients.
And have things changed much?
It's not like it was when I started. Of course, some things are the same. It's still hard to learn to drive. That hasn't changed. You have to master the physical controls of the vehicle, and then there are the different behavioural responses you need to develop too.
Such as?
Making split-second decisions, like slowing down when you see someone is about to cross the road, or knowing instinctively when a car is going to pull out in front of you. That's all part of it. But with the increase in traffic, learning to drive is a whole new ballgame these days.
Yes, it must be much more difficult to learn to drive on today's roads.
Absolutely. I'm glad I'm not learning now.
Of course, it's not just the sheer number of cars that makes driving more difficult, is it?
No. Traffic congestion and constant road repairs can cause road conditions that are almost like gridlock. That can try the patience of the most even-tempered drivers, and some, inevitably, get angry and take unnecessary risks that make driving unsafe for others.
Yes, driving is not just about being safe yourself. It's about staying safe when other drivers do silly things too. What about road rage? Do you think that exists?
Definitely. Most people are very considerate of learner drivers, as they can still remember what it was like learning to drive. So they're patient if a learner driver goes more slowly or is a bit hesitant. But I remember once I was giving a young driver his first lesson, and he stalled the car in the middle of a busy road junction. He started the engine again quite quickly, but by that time the traffic lights had changed. A driver coming in the opposite direction couldn't turn right. Instead of waiting, he got out of his car and started shouting, and he even banged on the roof of the car.
Ooh, that must have been very frightening.
It was. He kept shouting about how he had to get to hospital to see his wife, but it was scary. Driving can definitely bring out the worst in some people.
He was probably a nice, calm person normally. Being worried could well have been the reason he behaved like that, but he shouldn't have done it.
You're right. Part of my job is helping people cope with the problems they may face with other road users. Luckily, that learner coped well and wasn't put off driving completely. Some people might never have got behind the wheel again.
What about in-car distractions?
Getting people to understand the dangers of using phones, even hands-free devices, is incredibly difficult. It's one of the trickiest parts of my job. People don't realise how distracting they can be. A distraction, even a small one, can cause an accident. Anything that takes your concentration from the road is a potential danger. Even distractions such as listening to music, talking to people, or eating and drinking. Some people want to ban drivers eating in cars, but I think it's okay to eat a banana or a chocolate bar, especially if you're driving long distances and need to eat to stay awake.
So, even with all the difficulties, you still love your job?
Oh, yes. It may be hard, but it's a secure job. People will always need driving instructors. And I enjoy the challenges, and I certainly never get bored. That might be the best reason for doing this job.